Small business bookkeeping is one of those things, in my experience, the owners of small businesses, generally, they don't like to do it. And it can be a bit of a nuisance. However, if you're organized with it, it really doesn't have to be a big burden, something to avoid. The main thing to do is be a little bit organized about it. Now, there are several tax programs that are, commonly used to keep books for small businesses. Probably the most well-known is QuickBooks. QuickBooks is a fine program. There are two basic versions. The online version, which you can pretty much access from anywhere, and then a desktop version. It goes on your computer, and it has a little bit different format. Now, as an accountant, although I do use both the online version and the desktop version, I prefer the format of the desktop version. It's a little easier for me to use, I find. For example, if I want to pull up the chart of accounts, I go and the shortcut keys, I go Control A, and there's the whole chart of accounts. I can just pull up a bank account and write checks or any number of things. But I would mention something before any decision or consideration as to which program we're going to use and how we go about this. The very first thing I would mention as a suggestion, focus on keeping your bookkeeping as simple as possible, meaning unembellished, without a lot of complications, multiple accounts for things, and also using the simplest way to accomplish a task. If that means doing some transactions in paper and then putting them into QuickBooks or Excel, or for that matter just going to columnar paper, just using a pencil and columnar paper, keep it as simple as possible. The reason I mention this is I do, over time, I do find some of the owners, bookkeepers, they tend to be a little more elaborate in their system than they really need to be. And it's up to you, but as you go down the road with this, try to simplify it. Use paper files if you can. For example, when I do a tax return, I do a lot of tax returns, but I prepare the return on a desktop computer. I keep a copy, give a copy for the client. I have a copy on my desktop computer, but I also print out a copy for the file here. And if I need to quickly access that return and perhaps page through it, see something, I find I can easier to do it with a paper copy, a manual copy, than crank the computer up, open up the text software, go to that file. I have to go through 20 pages, scanning through. It's a lot of work. Paper copy, you go over to the file, pick it up, page 6, presto, you've got what you need. This can be applied when you have clients. If you have clients, you're printing out an invoice, go ahead, print the invoice out, or email them an invoice. But you might consider printing a paper copy along with keeping your copy on your desktop computer and putting it in a little file. And every once in a while file that file away, depends how many clients you have, how many invoices, once a month, or putting them alphabetically. I have seen over time, where things like this can make life a whole lot easier. You may have notes that you put on those invoices. They're not easily put or commonly put on the desktop version, but you can write notes on those invoices, and you'll have them in your files. As to progressing with bookkeeping, like, you start off, you write your invoices for your clients, you collect money from them, you mark the invoices as paid, you in fact book the money that's been received as income. When you're doing all these things, if you are new to this, my suggestion, especially if you're doing this with a program like QuickBooks, get used to one module at a time. If that's paying the bills module, the accounts payable, or booking income, writing invoices, the accounts receivable, sales invoices, do them one at a time until you really get comfortable with the various modules. There are jobs where the sole job of one person is to deal with billing invoices and receiving monies from clients. If you have a lot of clients, it's called accounts receivable and billing invoices. And that is a very important task, because those accounts receivable is a listing of who owes the company, how much money is owed by each individual client or customer. And the last thing you want to do is have this mixed up. There's a lot of back and forth with clients. They place an order 1 month, they don't for a couple months, then comes another order. There's timing differences, and when you get paid for those invoices, you want to have a clean system to operate about that. There are quite a number of different aspects to accounting for a business, bookkeeping. The first 2 college courses, Accounting 101 and 102, cover all the basic accounting and bookkeeping functions for businesses, regardless of what size, small or larger. In basic, larger. But there's a little bit hybrid system. Every company has their own little quirks. If Sally's the bookkeeper, she may keep some files over in one side of the office. And if Joe's a new guy, he comes, well, he may put them under the desk. All manner of things come up, idiosyncrasies. Usually when I speak with business owners or office managers, I do suggest that accounting, one person be assigned to handle the same task over and over. When you get a bunch of cooks, so to speak, coming in, stirring the pot, each one has a different, a little bit different system, it can easily get mixed up. As much as is possible, I do suggest to have one person handle the same task all the time. That way, they know where it's at. And of course, they do report to their superiors, but that makes life a little bit easier. Now, as I will mention something about payroll, and this will be the last item on this video, but when I first started, in this business, we used to do payroll by hand. As a matter of fact, there were the larger companies had computers, but smaller companies, they hadn't even started using the PCs yet. But we used to do the payrolls by hand, and at the end of the quarter, you would do your 941s, your federal, your state, Here in Illinois, your UC, your unemployment 941, all this would be done by hand. But it's unless you know what you're doing, this is easily mixed up. The price of payroll services has gotten very reasonable over time. And for my current clients, we do use outside payroll services. ADP does a fine job, in my experience, and that takes the burden of having to make federal tax deposits, keeping track of all these quarterly reports that are made. At the end of the year, you don't have to generate W-2 forms and send in all these government 941s, 940s, this type of thing to the various agencies. So if you have a local payroll service or someone like ADP, please consider that if you want to save yourself a whole lot of responsibility for this task. But these are a few things. Phil Iverson here in Uptown Chicago. Gorgeous day, November 7th.